Today, our researchers have identified and gathered information on the most ruthless kidnappers who were found guilty in court for the terrifying crimes. These individuals were responsible for committing heinous acts of causing immense suffering to their victims. First record sentence was given to this man, Ariel Castro. The judge decided what will happen to Ariel Castro, the man who kidnapped women in Cleveland. The judge says Castro will spend the rest of his life in prison. Plus, he will stay there for another 1,000 years. When Michelle Knight finally had the opportunity, she confronted Castro. He had kept her in prison and assaulted her in Cleveland's house for 10 years. "You took 11 years of my life," she said. "I spent 11 years in hell. Now your hell's just beginning." Judge Michael Russo decided that the kidnapper should spend his whole life in prison, without any chance of getting out. He also added another 1,000 years to the sentence. The judge said that the kidnapper's type of crime was not acceptable in society at all. The kidnapper Castro will first go to Lorraine Prison in Grafton, Ohio, after leaving the county jail. There, officials will assess him and determine where he will serve his sentence and then next. Castro admitted he did a lot of bad things. He said sorry for 937 counts, which is insane, like hurting and taking these people. He did several things like kidnapping and hurting 3 women, Knight in 02, Georgina in 04 and Amanda in 03. You won't get the death penalty because he said sorry and pleaded guilty. Do you think that is the right decision? Please comment it down below. DNA tests have proven that Castro is the dad of Barry's 6-year-old daughter. 3 women wrote in their diaries and Castro allowed it. They shared a lot about bad things and bad days they had with Castro. Castro seemed to think it was the women's fault and said they were lying. He even claimed that before he took them, none of the women were virgins and they wanted to have sex. He said everything was peaceful and happy in the home. Castro said that nobody bothered to look for Knight when she was missing. "I'm not a monster. I'm just sick. I have an addiction, just like an alcoholic has an addiction," he said. "God is my witness. I never beat these women like they're trying to say that I did. I never tortured them." FBI agent Andrew Berg testified that Castro's 1,400 square foot house was changed to hide where they were. They installed an alarm on the back door, covered parts of the house with bedspreads and curtains, and put a porch swing in front of the stairs to the rooms where Castro kept the woman. Police also said Castro would chain the woman to things like a support pole in his basement. This was one of the hardest sentencing of the judge in the county. What are your thoughts? Comment it down below. In the next case, we see Granville Ritchie has been given the punishment of death because he raped and killed Felicia Williams, who was just 9 years old, back in 2014. Almost 1 year after a group of people suggested that Granville Ritchie should be punished with death for hurting and killing a 9-year-old girl, the judge who was very moved to agree to that. This happened on court day. The poor child went through terrific and physical, painful, mentally distressing death, said Judge Michelle Cisco. She was so upset that her voice shook and she even had to take off her glasses to wipe away her tears. In 2014, investigators found out that Ritchie hurt Felicia Williams, a young girl, by choking her and putting her body into a suitcase. Then he threw the case into the water nearby. Felicia was alone with Ritchie after the person who was supposed to take care of her left to buy drugs. In September 2019, 12 people decided on person's punishment agreed that Ritchie, who came from Jamaica, should get the death penalty. During the sentencing, Felicia Demerson, the mother of the 9-year-old girl, spoke in court. "The only thing I regret today is I cannot ask for his fate. That would be for him to be hung, for him to feel what she felt. I feel like death is appropriate. All I know is he needs to be like her. What a horrific crime." Write your thoughts on the case down below. Next, Todd Collett, a man from South Carolina, admitted to killing 7 people. He pleaded guilty to these murders. In exchange for his guilty plea, he won't ever be released from prison. He will serve 7 life sentences, one after the other. This means he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. In Spartanburg County, the legal team considered asking for the death penalty in a scary case. However, they chose not to because the drug used for lethal injection in the state expired 4 years ago. The last time someone was executed in South Carolina was in 2011. In court, the families of the victims cried a lot while they talked about their loved ones who died too soon. They stood close to Collett, who was chained up and didn't show any feelings. One mother whose son Johnny was a victim told the judge how sad she was when she had to tell her 7-year-old grandson that his dad was gone forever. Kidnapper was a person who had a successful business in real estate, but in November the police arrested him on his big piece of land. The police were looking into a trip about a bad thing happened. This woman's name was Carla Brown. She had disappeared in August. Carla told the police that Kidnapper had hurt her boyfriend, Charlie Carver, 2 months before. Police said later on Kidnapper told them about 4 more people he had killed. He showed them where he had buried their bodies. In court, Kidnapper said he had killed Carver and 6 others. Some of the murders happened in November 2003 at a motorcycle shop in Spartanburg County. Scott Pana owned the shop, and he, along with his mother, early guy who worked there, Brian Lucas, who was in charge of services, and mechanic Chris Sherbert, were killed. Kidnapper said he shot the workers because the manager had made him angry. He also said he killed Johnny, 29, and Megan, 26, a couple he had hired to work on his property in 2015. In the following court moment, Jack Patterson, a man who admitted he took a teenager from western Wisconsin after he killed her parents last year, got sentenced on Friday. He spent his rest of his life without ever getting out. Plus, he'll serve an additional 40 years for what he did. There's no doubt in my mind that you are one of the most dangerous men to ever walk on this planet, Judge James Babler said before passing sentence, dismissing Patterson's short, tearful expression of remorse. Patterson, who was 21 years old, confessed to shooting James and Dennis Klaus from Barrett. This happened right before 1 a.m. on October 15, 2018. After shooting them, he kidnapped Jamie. Because of this monster, Jamie won't have mom and dad at her dance, at her prom, homecoming. He said, holding back tears, "My brother won't be able to walk down the aisle on her wedding day." Jamie, who was 13 years old, managed to run away from Patterson's cabin, which was around 70 miles north of Byron. She had been trapped there for 88 days. She went to the neighbors for help and then immediately called the authorities. Patterson was caught by the police just minutes after Jamie's escape. In March, Patterson admitted his guilt in court. He confessed to committing 2 pre-planned murders and kidnapping Jamie. Patterson got a punishment for his actions. They didn't give exact details, but they said Patterson wasn't sociopath or psychopath. They believed these crimes were because he felt lonely and isolated. They also mentioned he hadn't been in trouble with the law before. He will spend his life in prison without any chance to be released for killing Jamie's parents. Additionally, he got a maximum of 40 years in prison for kidnapping Jamie. What a weird case of someone who starts doing bad things out of nowhere. Let's go on with the next case. Michael Webb has been given a life sentence for taking an 8-year-old girl from Fort Worth. The jury decided that he was responsible for taking this little girl. Now a federal judge has given Michael Webb the harshest punishment possible, life in prison. Judge Reed O'Connor made the decision. He said Webb couldn't get a tougher sentence. When he announced the sentence, the judge mentioned how Webb had been violent even while in prison. He fought with staff and attacked 4 people with a 16-inch weapon. The judge talked about how the person, who is now 51 years old, has been getting into trouble with the law since they were a teenager. They said the society doesn't know how to handle them outside of the prison. The lawyers for the person asked the judge to give them a 20-year prison sentence. The federal prosecutors presented a doorbell video of the kidnapping, where you could hear the mother yelling for someone to come and help. Webb didn't show up for his trial or when they announced the decision. He didn't want to be there when they decided on the punishment. But Judge O'Connor told the US Marshals to make sure he came for his sentencing. When he finally came to court, he looked quite changed. He had lost a lot of weight since the last time anyone saw him. The local prosecutors still want to pursue charges against him for assaulting a child. Let's go on with the next case. The trial for a man from Springfield, Illinois, who is accused of doing some very serious crimes like kidnapping, hijacking, sexual assault, and breaking into someone's home in Adams County, has been moved. This happened because the person who said they were the victims of the crimes passed away. The judge agreed on this and gave them more time. The prosecutor, Gary Farah, said it's very sad that the woman who was hurt died. He has asked for the trial to be delayed so they can look into whether her death is connected to the crimes Bradley Young is accused of. Farah announced that they will do an autopsy on the person who's believed to be the victim. Young, who's 34 years old, is accused of breaking into a home twice. kidnapping someone forcefully, stealing a vehicle by force, breaking into a house, and committing a serious sexual assault. Karen Blackledge, who's 33 years old, lives in Quincy, is said to have worked with Jan in a crime. They're both accused of committing a crime together in Adams County. This happened on November 9th. Jan is currently in the Adams County jail, and his bond is $50 million. The judge decided to raise his bond from $10 million to $50 million last month. This decision came after it was discovered that Jan has been let out of jail in St. Charles County by mistake. This happened just 3 weeks before he allegedly committed crimes in Adams County. After court day, a man who was accused of taking a car with a child inside has been given permission to leave jail temporarily if he pays money. A judge in Fulton County says Darius White could leave jail if he paid $20,000. He's accused of doing something bad, taking a child in a car without permission and being mean to children. The police found the child's mom directly after it. They found the car using a helicopter and stopped it with the help of the Georgia State Patrol. Captain Felicia Claxton from the Atlanta Police Department said someone told the police about the stolen car. Then the officers found out there was a 10-year-old kid inside. The police helicopter from Fulton County helped Atlanta police to locate a stolen car shortly after it was reported missing. When the suspect, White, left the car and tried to escape on foot, the helicopter followed him until the police caught him. What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts down below. Henry Denkins, a man from Davenport, was found guilty of killing a 10-year-old girl who had been missing for 9 months. Her body was discovered in a pond. As punishment, he was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison not once but twice. Henry Denkins, 51 years old, was found guilty in a bench trial held on September 15, committing first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping against Bricia Terrell. Bricia was missing on July 10, 2020, which led to a massive search effort involving many volunteers and law enforcement agencies. Unfortunately, on March 22, fishermen discovered Bricia's body in a rural area north of Davenport. The judge stated in his ruling that the prosecutors had convincingly proven that Dinkins had kidnapped and deliberately shot Bricia. As a result, Dinkins was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, as mandated by the law. In the following weird moment that was caught on camera, a man from Palm Coast got arrested for taking a child to use as a human shield. Oh yeah, you heard right, as a human shield. And deputies managed to rescue the boy and arrest the man also. The man, identified as Brendan Leader, 27, faces several charges including kidnapping, minor for ransom or as a shield, resisting arrest with violence, child neglect, fleeing from law enforcement, and reckless driving. The police were responding to a call from a mother. She said her boyfriend had taken their son and left. She also said her boyfriend, Lena, might have a gun. The report said that Lena started feeling worried and believed someone had planned something against him. His mother mentioned during this time he became paranoid and took their son. She explained that she tried to stop him from taking the child, but he managed to grab him. The detective saw Lena driving really fast on Parkway, going 18 miles per hour where it's supposed to be 45. On the way, he also went through 3 red lights. Which courtroom case do you think was the most brutal one? If you know court cases that could be featured on the channel, please write in the comment section. Take a second to write your thoughts down below. Please subscribe to our channel and check out one of these videos. See you next courtroom video. Take care.